Adrenaline Motorsports. You're listening to 1680 AM on your dial, internet radio. And here today with in-studio guest, a good friend, a longtime friend, as a matter of fact, Don Prieto. And now today, as we speak, you've built some replica cars of the early days, and you also got into street rotting. And before I let you get out of here, I want you to touch bases a little bit on that, about the replica car and what you've done.
Okay. Well, there's this silly program called Cackling, which is a bunch of guys, old guys like me.
And me.
and
I resemble that remark.
we go out and we find these old cars that were run in the 60s that have turned into either snowmobiles or you name it, whatever they become. And we take what pieces are left of the original piece and remake it like it was in the 60s with the same kinds of engines and what have you. And I've located the chassis of the Hustler 5, which was Frank Cannon's car that got crashed at Bakersfield in 1965. And the chassis, the back half of the chassis was in somebody's rafters. I don't know how it got there. I don't want to know. Anyway, Pete Eastwood got a hold of it and called me and said, come help me make this thing back into the original car. And I said, okay. And in the process, he says, you want to be partners? And I said, yeah, might as well. I'll participate. So I took the car away and started bringing it to life. And he called me and he said, I found a car that I would really involve with. Would you consider either buying me out or me buying you out? And I said, well, I'm in it this deep. I might as well buy you out. So I did. And I brought the car to life 2005 with an engine just like the original car, and just having a ball doing it. It's so much fun. This weekend we're going to go to Long Beach in a little suburb called Bixby Knolls, and there'll be about 10 of us with these cars. And we'll start them up just as it turns dusk so you can see the fire come out of the headers.
Right in the middle of the Bisbee Knolls streets.
Exactly. And the car never turns a tire. It just sits there and makes noise.
Yeah, that's the Cackle Fest, all right.
Interesting, when I brought the chassis home, my wife, who knew that I was a drag racer, of course, she says, what's that? I said, that's a dragster chassis. She says, what are you going to do with that? I said, well, I'm going to put it together and put an engine in it. She says, you're not going to drive it, are you? I said, no, it's not for driving. She says, well, what are you going to do with it? I said, well, you start it up and listen to it and smell the nitro and look at the flames. She looks at me and she says, sounds like self-abuse to me.
Very much true. I want to touch a little bit on Bonneville, as we were touching there. Is that you talked about the Tom Hanna car, and yes, I had the privilege of seeing that car, and they were trying to get the bugs out of the engine, and pretty much at the time we saw it on the line that they spent some time trying to prep the car, and with that in mind, maybe you know a little more about that car than I do, but I know that when we were there on the Salt that they had some, I guess, gremlins in the engine, I think. If you're not
well, they had a problem with the starter, and they had a problem with the drive shaft, and problems with the transmissions all at once. But they have subsequently replaced all of those components with stronger and more reliable ones, and they ran it on a 10,000-foot runway in Arkansas 2 weeks ago.
Really?
And it went down the road, and it shifted, and it stopped, and the motor ran good, and all of those things. So the prognosis is good for Bonneville. It should run.
So the patient's going to live, and
yeah.
And tell me the guys behind this thing, because they're well known back in the early days.
Bob Kreitz is the engine builder, and Tom Hanna is the constructor. And the package is just stunning. And, you know, the man's name that owns the thing slips my mind, so I'm really going to apologize for that. He's an old friend of Bob Kreitz, and they've been together running Corvettes at Bonneville, so they have lots of experience. They've just never had the experience of trying to put a whole brand new car together that will go 500 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's kind of a task in itself, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they'll be there this year along with a couple of thousand of our friends. And we'll stand around in the heat and suffer from the salt and get all sunburned and have one of the great times of all times.
Yeah, I know that you ran last year with a Roadster.
A 29 Roadster.
Yeah, and
went 150 miles an hour and got a license to run to go faster.
Wow.
So that's what we set out to do, and we did it. So.
And I saw a motor on the stand. Apparently that motor is designated for one of those projects.
For the Roadster, and we're going to liven it up and try to go 175.
Oops.
The Roadster itself went 175 in 1954.
Wow.
And my friend, the doctor who owns it, wants to go as fast now as the car went then.
Oh,
and then we'll hang up that car because I don't want it going any faster than that. It's a little dangerous.
I think with the short wheelbase like that and the structure of the car, I think you hit it right on the head. The other thing is that there's going to be a lot of people there, as you say, and we're all going to have a good time. And I plan on having one anyhow. Our project in itself is just we're ready just to pack the trailer and. There's only a couple little minor details on our side that just in reference to the data acquisition system, but I think we're good to go, and we just can't wait until the month of August shows up.